sign information in the record, after which I'll turn it over to Mrs. Jackson. Seated to my far left, your case has been assigned to her this afternoon. She'll take the lead on the interview process. And I see we have a guest with us today. We'll ask her if she wants to speak at the appropriate time. We'll ask her to do so. So you are Ross McKay. Your DOC, as stated, is 156073. You're seeking a commutation of your sentence. You were serving a life sentence. You were sentenced in June 1991 for a second-degree murder conviction in St. Martin Parish. Is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, would you answer Mrs. Jackson, please?
Good morning. Good afternoon, Mr. McKay. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you.
My name is Bonnie Jackson. Your case has been assigned to me, so I will start the questioning for the board. How old are you, Mr. McKay? I'm showing 70 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And how long have you been incarcerated on this charge?
Since May 23rd, 1989, which is a little over 33 years.
Mr. McKay, let me try to summarize what I understand about the case. The victim's body was found by a boat crew, and the coroner determined that he died from blunt force trauma. He had 13 broken ribs. The investigation led to you. It's alleged that you had met the victim at a bar, and for some reason the two of you ended up leaving together. Ultimately, the victim was pushed or fell over the Basin Bridge and died as a result of trauma. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So I think your account of things was that he fell, but the evidence at the trial suggested that he was pushed, and so you were convicted of second-degree murder. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us about what was going on in your life back then, Mr. McKay.
Well, the shipyard where I worked, which was Port Allen Marine, it closed down for OSHA repairs. They would not let the employees stay and do the work. They would bring in their own people. So I had a friend that worked offshore, and he said he could get two of us offshore jobs or on crew boats. So we went to Lafayette to meet with another acquaintance that we were going to spend the night at his house and go in the morning to check on these jobs.
I wasn't asking about the crime itself. We've already talked about the crime itself.
Okay.
I'm talking about personally what was going on in your life. Were you involved in the use of alcohol or drugs? So tell me basically what your life situation was at the time this happened.
I wasn't involved in any drugs or alcohol abuse. I was just a dysfunctional person at that time.
What do you mean by you? No?
I was having a lot of family problems with brothers and sisters, and just things that bothered me greatly.
Do you have any history of mental illness?
No, ma'am.
I'm looking at your institutional records. You have a well-read. You had 16 write-outs for last thing in 2012. that was for an aggravated disobedience. Do you remember what that was about?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And what happened?
A cadet came to shake me down in the dorm. It was a cadet that had been working in the dormitory. And every time she would come on, she would shake me and another man's locker boxes down. So I asked her why she came to shake us down every day. And she said, I don't shake y'all down every day, only when I'm on. Anyway, the culmination of the whole thing was she wrote me up for aggravated disobedience. And that's it.
What's your job at the prison?
I work at the main prison laundry.
And how long have you had that job?
I've been there 9 years. Prior to that, I worked at the hospital laundry for 23 years.
And so basically, you worked in the laundry most of your incarceration.
That's correct.
I couldn't help but notice that you don't have a whole lot of programs taken. The only programs that I see, and correct me if there's some more, because the only ones that I see are the 100 hours of pre-release and McKay DOC. You have any other program?
Should be, anger management should be in there.
That's McKay DOC.
Okay.
Anger management. So 100 hours of pre-release and anger management. Is that about it?
Yes, ma'am. You get backlogged for a lot of others, but it just, as time passes, I don't know, you just get lost in the shuffle or put back on the list. I don't know.
Because we have had inmates who've been in prison as long or longer than you, yet they have managed to get programming. And I was just curious as to why you have those programs. So if you were to be released, what would your plan be?
I'm going to try to work with this parole project and for housing and maybe a job. But other than that, I'm going to look for employment on my own. When I worked at the shipyard, I had a small paint business on the side and a headstone cleaning business.
Well, obviously the parole project is not involving your case, but if they were, they would be at the hearing today by Zoom. So you've not actually talked to or been accepted by the parole project, is that correct?
They interviewed me up here last Thursday.
Okay. But again, right now, there's nothing definite. You're waiting to find out if they will even accept you, is that correct?
The impression I got from the lady who interviewed me was she wanted to know if I would go with them, and I told her I'd be more than willing to.
What about your family? You know, family support is extremely important for anyone who is trying to transition prison after being there for as long as you have. So what family support do you have?
I have none. My mother and father are deceased, and my other sibling.
Do you have children?
Yes, ma'am, but they're in Georgia.
I understand they might be in Georgia, but what kind of contact do you have with them?
I have none.
You have a relationship with them at all?
My daughter came up here quite a few times, but I think I said some things to my daughter that made her mad, so she's dropped out of sight.
Okay. Because I think she indicated one time, not several times. What about your ex-wife?
I haven't spoken to her.
Gordon, what could you tell us about Mr. McKay?
He has, again, as you said, 16 write-ups, the last one being in 2012. He has been an orderly at the treatment center going back to 2008. He's maintained a custody status of at least a min B since 2010. And he goes back a little further. Actually, in 2003, he was a Class C trustee, then moved up to a Class B in 2007. He dropped down in 08 to a medium, but then worked his way back up. So he's been between an A and a B since that point in time. And as you stated earlier, he has continued to work in jobs such as groundskeeper at the treatment center, main prison laundry, and the treatment center laundry.
I thank you, Warden. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mrs. Jackson. We have Mrs. Blanchard, Ms. Deanne Blanchard, and we'd like to hear from you.
Actually, they have my name wrong. It's not Blanchard, it's Bertrand. I'm daughter.
Thank you.
Okay, I just want to say I was a daddy's girl all my life. It devastated me to lose him, especially in such a senseless way. For years, I would see someone on the street with a similar build or do a double take. I cried myself to sleep so many times I couldn't even keep count anymore. And even after all this time, it still hurts my heart to think of all of this. And when I talked to Mr. Barres that this was coming up, afterwards I just cried, even though I was here at work. But even more important than that is what he did to my mother. She was broken. She refused to list any details regarding Daddy's death. After he died, I moved in with her so she wouldn't be alone. If I was late coming home from work by even 30 minutes, she was distraught because that was what happened with Daddy. He never came home from work. Her easy smile was gone. She was always a person, but she became truly introverted after his death. She was never truly happy again. So not only take away my father, he changed my mother to the point that I lost part too. It isn't a question of whether or not I forgive him. I have. It isn't a question of revenge. Revenge is never worth it. It's a demand for justice. He broke our husband and father. He broke our heart, broke our family. No matter how much he changes, if at all, he can't undo what he did. So I oppose his release.
Thank you for taking time out of your work day to give us your input. We appreciate it. Is there a comment, sir, that you'd like to make to us before we vote?
Yes, I would. I would like to say I believe in the sanctity of life. I understand what I did. I understand that my actions have devastated two families and those children. And I've had to live with this every day since then, and it just torments me.
If we are prepared to vote, Mrs. Jackson, will be vote.
Ms. McKay, you have a good institutional record as far as the disciplinary record, and you work at other great things. But I am concerned about the lack of programs that you have the opportunity to take, and also the fact that you really don't have a transition plan in place. The parole project is not involved in your case as of yet. You don't have any family support, and it would be extremely difficult for you to be able to return to society without strong transition and a good support system, but also to be equipped to get out through programming. So I'm going to encourage you to keep working. You need to get some more programs in. You need to have a support system around you. But today my vote is going to be to deny because of lack of programming, lack of a transition plan, and victim opposition.
Mr. Rico.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good afternoon, Mr. McKay. Based upon expressed opposition from the victim's family and the legal community, I voted to deny your request.
Mr. Mirabella.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I believe, Mr. McKay, you need some more programs as well. I think you got a little more work to do. I vote likewise this evening.
Mr. Freed.
I concur with all my colleagues. I vote to deny.
And Mr. McKay, you've received 4 votes to deny your application today. So today your application for clemency has been denied, sir. See if you can get enrolled in some programs. It will be helpful for you.
Thank you.
There's something very sad and pathetic about that man. I can't quite put my finger on it. Maybe it's just the idea that he has like nothing. No family, no friends, nothing. He worked in a laundry facility. He's done, it's just, the interesting thing is that his crime is so, compared to everything else that's happened, like second-degree murder, where someone was pushed off. He pushed someone off a bridge. There's like no story to it. No one knows like how it happened, why it happened. Like it's something like that, which, even if he just had a good attorney, he probably could have gotten out of, or could have gotten manslaughter. He could have just said he was defending himself. Like, just a simple man. It seems something just, I think, and the whole board gets it too. I think they get it. He just would fail if he got out. He'd have nowhere to go. He has no support. I think just for that reason, if he had any support, I think they let him out. Just my take on it.